I'm sure you've heard this simple statement before. What a shame. You've probably said it yourself without giving it much thought. But what does it actually mean? What is shame and how does it affect our lives? Hello, I'm Gail Ferguson Jones, a certified peer recovery coach who works with families who love someone struggling with addiction. I feel immense empathy and compassion for my clients because I personally have experienced the shame and trauma of living with alcoholics in my family, and I eventually suffered an emotional break. The effects of addiction on loved ones is not often spoken of because of the stigma and shame. But the reality is, it's a mental health challenge that needs to be addressed. Did you know that 1 in 7 adults and 1 in 4 children live in the chaos and dysfunction of a loved one's alcohol or drug addiction? This family disease infects everyone connected to it. The shame and stress can lead to anxiety, depression, and such life threatening ailments as high blood pressure. The frustration and resentment that families feel weighs heavily on their hearts and minds and robs them of peace of mind and well being. They want so desperately for their loved ones to get sober, but they eventually reach a breaking point, just as I did. If you're among them, you know how helpless it feels to stop someone's self destructive behavior. You feel so fearful for their safety and others who they may endanger. You beg and plead and argue with them, make excuses to cover for them, give in to their demands for money you know will be spent on drugs and alcohol. You make sure they're not out on the street and do everything to make sure they know you love them. In return, they lash out at you in anger, disrupt your peace and quiet of your home, constantly lie and manipulate you to get what they want, sometimes steal, and may even threaten violence. The whole situation is painful and embarrassing. What a shame. In my case, I found myself sobbing uncontrollably one morning for what seemed like an eternity. Unsure of what was happening with me, I made an appointment with my doctor who knew my family circumstance, and she told me I was suffering from traumatic stress. What a shame. Except that was the turning point for me, and it often is for those who seek my help. Here's the thing, we look at our addicted loved one as having a problem without recognizing that we too have a problem. We insist that they get help, but we need help too. Why? Because we want to be happy and healthy. Because we shouldn't let someone else's struggle deprive us of peace and well being. Because we don't have to live as victims of someone else's addiction. My meltdown was my rock bottom moment, but that's because I had previously resisted the thought that I needed help. Until then, I was ignorant of the impact of someone else's addiction problem could have on my life. What a shame. But here's the important point I want to make. We all have inner strength and resilience to triumph over shameful circumstances. We all can dig deep within our heart and soul to overcome pain and shame, to wrap ourselves in self compassion, self love, and care, to empower ourselves with a sense of self worth, pride, and confidence. With unshakable determination, we can triumph over the shame of self doubt and fear and come out as champions. How great would it be to be the hero of your own life? To shake off the shame and trauma of circumstances beyond your control, to build a brighter future. That's what this summit is about, being a comeback champion. Being a champion starts with knowing who you are and what you're capable of, no matter your past challenges and the opinions of others. In order to come back from painful circumstances, champions don't try to go it alone. They seek out help in a community of support. They turn to doctors and therapists to help build up and maintain their physical and emotional health. They drop the weight of shame that blocks their ambitions and get laser focused on who they want to be. They step in front of the mirror each morning and remind themselves that they are good enough and they are worthy. Being a comeback champion requires dedication to new ways of thinking and being. It requires greater self acceptance and love. Champions get comfortable with vulnerability because it's important for strength and resistance training. In my case, I turned to such family support programs as Al Anon, where I became educated about addiction. I attended meetings of Codependence Anonymous for my own personal growth. I worked with a personal physician and a therapist for physical and mental healing. I turned to a recovery coach to learn how to detach from the addiction while still loving the person, how to set boundaries to protect my peace, how to stop playing the victim and let go of shame and blame. That's who I am as a comeback champion, and it's what I do professionally. I'm Gail Ferguson Jones, a certified peer recovery coach and the author of the best selling book, Butterfly Rising: A Journey to Love, Freedom, and Healing from the Cocoon of Codependency. You can also tune in to my Butterfly Effect podcast, which you can find on all platforms to learn all about personal recovery.